Warning: this video contains spoilers. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello, and welcome to Enclave Culture, your haven for all things culture. In this very special episode, I'll be reviewing the criminally underrated sci-fi horror film, Infinity Pool. As usual, I'll be diving into the themes and plot of the film in great detail. I hope you enjoy this video. Infinity Pool is directed by Brandon Cronenberg, who is the son of legendary filmmaker David Cronenberg. It stars Alexander Skarsgård and Mia Goth and was released on January 27th. The film's plot is about a man named James Foster, who is a struggling writer going on a vacation to a beautiful island resort in the fictional country of Latoka, alongside his wealthy, gorgeous wife, M, played by Cleopatra Coleman. While on the island, he is seduced by a provocative fan named Gabby, played impeccably by Mia Goth. Sadly, however, James accidentally commits a crime and runs over a pedestrian at night. He, M, Gabby, and the other tourists are arrested and taken to the island's police station. Everybody is released from custody, but James is given an ultimatum by the police chief. He can either be sentenced to death, or he can pay a fee to be cloned so that his clone can be executed instead of him. Or he can act as a spectator of the crowd and watch his own execution. But James does not realize how this was only the beginning, how the island will test his mind, his trust of others, alter his relationship with his wife, and transform his philosophy on life forever. I think that this film, while being an indie horror film that is extremely brutal and surreal in presentation, never loses sight of its philosophical concepts. The Infinity Pool is a device invented by Gabby's wealthy husband, Alban. It is a machine that is far ahead of anything that current science is capable of creating. Alban made a deal with the Latoka government to utilize this machine on the tourists for profit. The moment James gets cloned, everything changed for him. He sits in the kill room with his wife, and they are forced to see themselves get executed by the son, the man James ran over. After this moment, the relationship with Gabby starts to intensify. James becomes obsessed with her. Her influence in his life makes him feel more liberated. It also makes him more dangerous to himself and others around him. Later in the film, Gabby and Alban invite James to join their high-class club. They all share one thing in common. They have all been cloned by the Infinity Pool. They put on grotesque masks, which symbolize how they have been reborn by the machine. James goes with his new friends to a beautiful residency where they take a group of tourists hostage. James is paralyzed by fear because he has never done something like this before, but Gabby reassures him that it's alright. They have nothing to fear. Then one of the hostages gains the upper hand, which forces Gabby to start firing her pistol. But it does not matter because James and the rest of the group are forced to flee for their lives. The group is captured by the island's security once again. They have no choice but to pay, be cloned again. Cronenberg expertly subverts the audience's attentions by beginning the execution scene from James and Gabby's perspectives, which makes the viewer believe that they are really about to be executed, but in reality, James and the rest of his group of lunatics are watching their clones getting massacred in front of them. James becomes more and more engulfed in committing criminal acts. His loyal wife, M, notices that he has transformed into a different person. He ignores her feelings and takes advantage of her by making her pay for his cloning. The movie makes the viewer question if James's original self really was killed and that he is the clone. That would make things too simplified. Later, Gabby introduces James to a special psychedelic drug that comes from the island. She teaches him how to use it. After he becomes inebriated, they proceed to have passionate sex with each other, thus cementing their relationship. It seems that he has the perfect life. There is a scene where the group get together to have an orgy of the century. They pop pills, get high, and do whatever they please. James's love for Gabby has never been stronger. Everything changes when the group invite a strange man who has a bag over his head.
Show him your strength, James.
In the end, he caves into peer pressure and starts assaulting the innocent person and seems to be basking in the glory of it. He even pisses on the person's body while he screams in disgust. Gabby then takes off the mysterious man's bag off his head, which reveals that the man is a clone of James. The protagonist is horrified and runs away to his room. Gabby pleads with him to come out. He refuses to. His mind is made up. The next day, he gets on a bus to leave the island alone, without M. Everything seems to be perfect until Gabby and her husband drive up in a fancy car next to the bus. Gabby takes her gun out and shoots at the bus, which forces it to stop. She jokingly chastises James to come out. Reluctantly, he agrees. Gabby forces James to walk in front of the vehicle for their amusement. Gabby reveals that she was never his biggest fan, that she never even read his book. She reads a negative review for his novel, which describes the book as a failure.
This whole time we've been laughing at you.
That they can play with him and make him realize just how pathetic he really is as a person. Upon hearing all this vitriol, James snaps and tries to strangle Gabby, but no matter how hard he tries to reach for her throat, he is unable to and falls to the ground screaming in intense frustration.
Yeah!
In the climax of the film, James is captured by Gabby and her twisted group and is forced to fight a clone of himself barehanded to the death. He fights like an animal against himself. James pours all his resentment, his hatred, into his opponent's face. He repeatedly strikes him until he smashes his head like a watermelon. Against all odds, James is victorious. He begins to cry uncontrollably. Gabby comes to embrace him. She lets him suck her tit like a baby, suckling its mother. In the conclusion, James talks with Gabby and Alban about how the fun is over. Now they will go back to their normal lives. James says goodbye to Gabby, and things end as rapidly as they began. James goes to sit in front of the pool chair as he contemplates his life. There is so much this film does well, it's hard to limit the praise. For instance, the performances are phenomenal. Alexander Skarsgård is an excellent protagonist. This is somebody who really wanted to succeed as a writer and someone who really loved his wife but got corrupted by power and his own desires. Mia Goth plays a petrifying femme fatale who is seductive one moment and chilling the next. From the very beginning, she manipulated James's emotions. She pretended to be his #1 fan just so she can control him for her own twisted intentions. She reminds me of a Lady Macbeth kind of character, but without the remorse. She even has a Harley Quinn vibe to her. Gabby is one of the most terrifying villainesses ever written in any cultural medium. Mia is one of the finest actresses of our time. She is an expert in playing darker, unhinged characters. Can't wait to see her in Maxine and in other future projects. In the end, when everybody goes back to their normal existences, Gabby is able to switch to normality in almost an inhuman fashion. The rest of the cast do a superb job as well. Everybody brings these characters to life in a wonderful way. Brandon Cronenberg has gigantic shoes to fill, but he proves himself more than worthy of continuing his father's work. This may be his 4th feature film, but I would say this is his greatest work so far. He's able to reinvent his father's distinctive body horror style for a new era. While this film does not contain as much surreal body horror found in David's work, it is found in the peculiar design of the infinity pool itself. The liquid that submerges the user looks like blood and has a very alien quality to it. The themes of this movie are very thought-provoking. The major theme of this picture is the concept of the ego. To be more specific, this movie is about self-reflection through nihilism. As soon as James and Emma arrived in Latoka, he had not only embarked on a journey of self-discovery, he easily could have murdered Gabby, her husband, and every one of those crazy rich psychos, but chose not to because in a way he knew that Gabby was right. While her methods were perverse, James understood that she was playing this game so that he would comprehend how much of a failure he was in life. James was a submissive, failed writer who was financially dependent on his wife for everything. The final shot of the movie showcases James pondering about his existence and how he can reinvent himself after everything he had been through. The film was inspired by Sigmund Freud's ideas of the ego and the superego. Humanity is defined by its concepts of the ego. The ego creates the essence of identity. How we face external and internal factors in life depends on our perception of our ego. The more James was cloned, the more nihilistic and extreme he became, just like Gabby and all the others. But they only use the cloning process as an excuse to fulfill their darkest desires.
Maybe think of it as a gift.
This film demonstrates that we can be anything we want. Nature of man is determined by how we handle power. There is a quote from the film Fight Club which perfectly connects to this film.
Stop trying to control everything and just let go.
This eerily coincides with James's journey. The film handles violence and sex in a very poetic way. The provocative nature of Gabby giving James a handjob after they first meet in the beginning of the film is an immaculate way to illustrate the extreme nature of this character. The scene in the climax where Gabby breastfeeds James is symbolic of the fact that he is submissive to her because she be him. It's also a metaphor for a relationship between a son and his mother and the fraternal connection between males and females. Very powerful stuff indeed. Aside from its serious themes, Infinity Pool also contains some smart humor. The cinematography of the picture is stellar. Bright colors and vibrant hues of the island and its state-of-the-art interiors are memorable and linger in the viewer's minds long after the credits roll. The masks, quite iconic and are intimidating. They express the flawed, twisted nature of humanity. Some frames of the movie were filmed upside down or they revert to a normal angle. This is representative of the inversion of morality which occurs after the cloning process. Of all its positives, this movie is not without its flaws. The biggest problem with it is the application of the cloning machine. Alban is clearly a genius inventor, but of all the potential uses for a cloning machine, why did he choose to use it solely for profit on a tourist island? I understand that such an invention could generate tons of income, but why not use it to resurrect the dead or use clones for their organs to save people's lives or anything else? Perhaps I'm just overthinking as usual, but the cloning machine is such an integral aspect of the film, so I could not leave that out. Overall, Infinity Pool is one of the finest films ever made. It is the definition of a cult classic that only the sharpest of minds would appreciate. I recommend this movie for anyone with an open mind who is willing to watch a very introspective film that is impossible to forget. I look forward to Brandon Cronenberg's future work with great interest. Thank you so much for watching this video. It was a pleasure to make, and I hope you enjoyed it. Please like, comment, subscribe. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time.
Do you fear you may have just witnessed your own demise?
I can only hope.